Hey, we're back again with another sketch lesson, and you see I've got some tulips here that I'm going to show you how to break down into simple shapes. What I'm looking for now is what is the shape and how do the shapes relate to each other. I see rectangles, and I see two rectangles close to each other, and then one rectangle not too far, but down below the other two. So you're going to see me not sketch out tulips right now. You're just going to see me sketch out rectangles. And what I'm looking for now is how thick or thin is the shape, which in this case a rectangle. How tall or short is the rectangle? How wide is it? How close or far are they from each other? And just how are they related? The same way when I was showing you how a person's nose is related to the inside of the eye and mouth is related to the outside of the eye. I'm looking for those type of things to help me to place my shapes properly. So you see I've got my three shapes now, and they're just rectangles, but they're representing those tulip bulbs. And now I'm going to start off with that one right there. I'm going to turn that shape into a tulip bulb by now drawing each individual petal in that bulb. What I want you to understand, though, is that by you taking the time to draw the general basic shapes of your main subject out, now you already know that they relate to each other properly, they fit right, and now as long as while I'm drawing these flowers out, I use those three rectangles as my guide. The relationship that I liked with the three rectangles will be the same when I turn it into a flower, and they'll be related the same way. They'll be in the right place, proportionate to one another. So in other words, those three rectangles, not only are they my foundation, but they're my guide to make sure that my drawing is accurate and that it's in the right place. Things are placed correctly. So you really want to get in a habit of working with simple shapes first. And it's so much easier to find out that three rectangles are not placed right than to find out that three flower bulbs that I took all this time to draw and shade are not placed right. If those three rectangles were not right, I did them light enough and quick enough that I could alter them and change them until I liked where they were. Then I could go about the part that I'm doing right now, turning them into actual flowers. So you don't want to be in such a hurry to try to get to the details and the realism of it that you don't take the time to just quickly lay out the overall picture. You want to make sure it all fits. So many of my students will spend a lot of time, let's say, on drawing an eye and drawing a nose, and they've got it all lined up, and it looks really nice. And then I'll see them over there puzzled. So I'll walk over to them and say, "What's up? Problem?" And they'll say, "Yeah." "Okay, what's the problem?" It's not going to fit. I got the eye, I drew the eye too big, or it's in the wrong place, or something like that. And whenever that happens, they didn't follow this principle of laying out your shapes first and making sure all your shapes are in the right place, making sure that your foundational, simple sketch drawing looks right. It makes such a difference, and it helps you to save a lot of time and a lot of grief from putting things in the wrong place and finding out after you've done all of that work. Take another look at it here, and now that I've got it drawn out, the way I want, you always want to go back and look and make sure you got things right. And now I say, okay, I got them kind of right. Now I can start to shade this thing in and start to give it some form, by using value, light tones, medium tones, and dark tones. And it's still going to be sketchy. So as you see, I'm giving the whole thing a light tone, shading over all of it. Nice and sketchy, nice and light, being deliberate and not too perfect because it's just a sketch. This is not something I'm going to frame and hang up. Just doing a quick sketch, like a practice piece. But after I lay this first level of shading in, I will then go back, as you see me doing now, and start to put some darker shadings or darker values over the value that I just put in there. So the value that I just put in before this one, that's going to end up being my highlights. Those are going to be the lightest tones on those petals. And so now I'm going and filling in dark areas elsewhere to try to help each of those petals and those stems stand out as separate pieces of an overall painting. And I already know that it's going to be fine because my foundational drawing was correct. I took the time to do my simple shapes and make sure that they relate right to each other. So now I can just be free and put these values in, confident that the finished drawing is going to be okay. Now I just want to make sure that I don't overdo my values and make things too dark too fast, or leave things way lighter than they should be. So I'm trying to match values now. The closer I'm able to match the values, the more this is going to look right. So for example, what I'm putting in there right now, if that's like about a 30% gray, it's not quite white, but it's pretty far away from black. Well, if on the picture that gray that I just put in is around 35%, then I've matched it pretty close. You see how the dark that I just put on that petal separates the petal right there just to the right of it. You can see that the one to the right of it is in front. Now we've got a folded one over here, and by me putting those shadows in there, you get a chance to see that it's wrapped over a bigger petal, and just one by one, building up the different smaller areas now that's inside of the big foundation that I built when I first started with the rectangles. So basically what I'm saying is you want to make sure that you have everything in there that you want in your foundational drawing. Now you know everything's fitting. Now you want to go in and spend all of this time rendering and drawing values or painting, or whatever it is you're doing to finish your picture off. But at least now you're confident that it's working out right because you approved of your initial sketch, which I did. I liked where everything was. Everything I wanted to be in there, it's in there. Now I can take my time and put these little details in, confident that the finished drawing is going to be good because my initial sketch was good. So you approve of your initial sketch first before you spend so much time, like my students will do, drawing an eye and a nose, and they spend 45 minutes to an hour on that eye and that nose, and then they're sitting there with a puzzled look on their face, and their answer to me is well, I'm puzzled because it's not going to fit. They notice it now. They see that it's not going to fit, but they could have easily overcome that problem by just doing a foundational sketch in the first place to make sure it's all going to be in there. I hope you're understanding this principle here. Let's take a look at the picture again. And I'm looking now to see, okay, is there anything else I want to put in there, before I call this sketch done? And, either it is or it's not. And if so, I'll go back in and lay a few more things in to help it along. But it's a sketch, so I don't have to do too much with it. I'm pretty comfortable right now. Just a few little details here or there. If I was to go in and do a more serious drawing of this, I'd take a whole bunch more time with it, and I'd use some different pencils so that I can get more details in. But this sketch is letting me know that I could turn this into a successful painting one day.